This is part 3 of what I said was going to be part 2. So again, like I said before, I want to try and encapsulate this next section.
You were never going to get your story into 2 parts.
Okay, so
Never.
let's try.
As I said, you're a communicator, you can talk, so...
I'm going to try and cut out some of the fluffy stuff.
Okay,
Yeah?
all right. Well, let's see how we're led.
Okay.
So, in the last one, we talked about your teens and the 20s and,
early 20s.
Heartbroken, but then having relationships, heart affected.
Okay, yeah.
And then we had a series of relationships that didn't really...
Yeah, long-term, short-term, but just kind of,
a few mistakes in there, a few regrets in there.
Yeah, oh sure.
And so now we come to where you're...
Become a Christian, I get saved.
You get saved and then stuff starts to change.
Okay.
Life starts to change.
Yeah.
But how did your relationships change?
Okay.
Did your relationships change?
Yeah, so I suppose I was 23 in 2000 millennium, got saved, became a Christian, and some things changed immediately.
Yeah.
So some of my lifestyle choices immediately changed overnight, as far as kind of smoking and that kind of stuff cut off immediately. But I suppose my relationships and how I conducted myself was a progression kind of thing. So I was still transformed, had the experience and encounter with God, but the habits and the pull of relationships and females was still a struggle for me, something that I battled with for, I think, 2 to 3 years in my Christian walk.
So how old were you when you got saved?
23 stroke 24.
Okay.
Yeah. So still
a very young man. Yeah.
Yeah, in the prime.
In your prime.
Yeah, and I think in that time of my life, I felt like I was living life.
Did you? I think we'll probably do your salvation story separately.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's an amazing testimony.
Okay.
But did you? How do I word it? Did you understand that relationships were different as a Christian, in the sense of, did you just carry on as you were, or did you understand, right, there's differences here now, the way the conduct needs to be different, the whole...
See, for me...
the journey of relationships is different as a Christian, or did you just carry on and
I think I carried on as normal outside of church. I was still intimate with women, girls, while I was in church.
Intimate as in sex
or being... Yeah, sex, whatever, same, no different really. I was more conscious of it. And more, I was aware that it was wrong.
Okay.
But the pull and the relationships that I had, emotional commitments that at the time, didn't work strong enough to pull me away.
Were you dating Christian women, or were they, was there a mix? Was there,
So dating wise, I wasn't dating in that sense. I was just kind of in relationships, not boyfriend, girlfriend, just convenient people that I would spend time with.
Yeah, but you weren't just like, you meet a girl, sleep with her. No. You were actually, you had a relationship with these people.
Definitely, yeah. But even though, again, then I knew I was a Christian, they knew I'd experienced something. It was just normal. It was just, I carried on with normal life outside of church. So there was a transition. So I came to church, met a new circle of group of people, new friends and that kind of stuff, new females, new women in church, just people in general. It was such a warm, loving environment, kind of friendly, peer groups kind of thing. So it was different because it was all social led. Does that make sense?
Did you, I remember, because obviously I came to church around the same time.
Yeah.
Did you, were you shocked by the demographic and the whole, age group of people that were in the church? Because I know growing up for me, church, it was a lot of older people.
Yeah.
And it was very somber and very strange. I grew up in a Catholic church.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
No,
so
it was
what
very
was your
young.
experience
Very young and vibrant kind of thing. Church energy. It was like a new world kind of thing for me. But I was still parallel living to a certain degree. So, my mentality was very much still the same, which I understand now more so. So I went to church, got saved in church for a little while, and I'm going back to my friends who are not saved and the circles that I was still in, saying, bro, there's girls in church. Like, there's girls in church.
Did you tell them about Jesus or just the girls that were in church?
I think both. I think it was both, and that was normal for me. It's like, just chatting, so what's going on, blah, blah. Bro, there's girls in church, Yeah, man, seriously, you gotta come and see what's going on. And it was just like normal. Like, it was a whole new... So for me, that transition, that discipline, again, that I lacked, I had to learn the hard way kind of thing. So for me, the first couple of years in church while slowly distancing myself from some relationships, physically, emotionally, and that kind of stuff, because my lifestyle was changing.
Right.
It was still, core of it was still around females. So even though I was in church around guys, I was still comfortable in communicating with females in church on a good level. It wasn't any kind of trying to chirps or anything, but there was some friendships that were just friendship. They were like friendship. Yeah, I like spending time with you. And before, my mindset before, if I like spending time with you, that naturally will lead onto something longer term, or not naturally, not always, but the possibility, the options were open, you're available. So for me, that was a really confusing time for me because I loved God, loved serving in church, loved being involved with youth and that kind of stuff, but I was still challenged and living this altar kind of lifestyle.
So in church, I guess, is it right to say that you were exercising some level of restraint?
Some level, yeah, definitely. 100%.
And sometimes you were successful, but sometimes you weren't so much.
Yeah.
So you were trying, but sometimes failing.
Yeah.
Sometimes successful.
Yeah, in that sense. Okay. And I think I've got myself into some communications and some situations that on the outside looked dodgy, looked like I was coming to church and trying to romance different ladies or women at the same time.
Yeah.
And praise God that it came to light.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then I had to have a meeting with my pastor.
You pulled up on that, weren't you?
Pulled up.
Yeah.
Called into the office. And I tell you what, the old church building, behind the stage on the left hand side, that the pastor's office.
Detail.
I have fond memories of that place.
Yeah.
In that sense, because I think that process helped me to grow from a boy into a man.
That's a life-changing moment.
Oh, massive. And I think, I'll give shout out to my pastor, Pastor Stephen Derbyshire, for the love of a father.
Yeah.
You know, because he was in his rights at that stage to say, look, get out of my church, don't trust you, blah, blah, blah. But he loved me he disciplined me like a dad. And I needed that. Yeah. And that shaped me, definitely. And I was like, Pastor Steve, like, me and this girlfriend are done now, blah, blah. He's like, look, let's not take it too far.
Don't be extreme.
Let's not be extreme. And the way he communicated with me and the way he accepted me and nurtured me through that process definitely shaped another defining moment in my life. Yeah. That I will never, ever forget. Yeah. Kind of thing. And that shaped my mindset differently. Yeah. As in how I conduct myself in church. And I think from that point onwards, my relationships and how I communicated in church definitely changed.
Okay.
Still outside was still a struggle.
Oh, okay.
So in that sense, I learned how like a chameleon kind of thing. I loved God. And I was serving, involved in ministry, and I was still doing stuff outside. And I think that's where the crunch came. Like, I'm a Christian now. I'm like a year, 2 years in, and I'm being pushed and pulled and repenting and coming back and making mistakes and like God. And it's emotions involved again.
What was it like for you in your quiet moments, you know, in your bed? Because you lived alone, didn't you? So you had time to reflect and whatever. Was that a struggle? Were you battling with yourself there? Were you disappointed, frustrated, don't care?
I think I was.
What was it like?
A mixture of everything, because I think at that stage of my life, I was battling and wrestling with everything. So purpose, wanting to be married but not putting in the work and the disciplines to be married, because I knew that was the right way to go.
So you wanted to be married at that stage?
Oh, definitely. I've always wanted to be married in that sense. Always. But I didn't qualify. I wasn't eligible because of my past experiences, because of how much I messed up. I felt like I wasn't eligible. I would never. And it was just like that battle of being single. What does single mean? Kind of thing to me. How did that work itself out? Does that mean... Because communication with females ended up making or breaking and that kind of stuff. So I think the crunch came when I got to a stage where I was in a relationship kind of with somebody, and it just got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was outside of church kind of thing. She kind of was making steps towards faith and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And we were just like...
But she was coming to church for you more.
Well, so, I don't know. I can't say that. I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't say that at all. But it was just my influence, obviously, of being a Christian. Because I was like, yeah, I'm a Christian. This is what I'm doing. But I'm still living that contrary to what I was saying to the truth kind of thing. And it wasn't extreme in that sense, but it was like that. And it was emotions getting involved again. That heart feeling getting away again. That love, that swear word of love and feelings getting there. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I'm crying. She's crying. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And it's just like tears. It was really a painful experience. Yeah. But at that point, I was serious for the first time with God. I said, God, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. Okay. I've been a Christian for this long now. I love church. I love serving. I've been through the stuff in church. I've kind of reconciled that now and doing that right. But I've still got this chains of, I don't want to say addiction, but intimacy and that kind of stuff and all that stuff. I can't do this anymore because it's ruining me. It's crushing me, kind of thing. So I think at that point I said, God, this is it now. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I can't keep coming back to the same situation and same emotion. So at that point, is where everything changed for me.
How old were you then?
I was 26, 27. My memory is really bad.
Roughly.
Yeah, roughly 26, 27. I think at that point I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. Because it's gonna kill me. It's just gonna mess up my walk and mess up everything. Not just my life, but other lives as well. You know what I mean? There was other people involved, so I couldn't do it anymore. And again, in all of my past relationships, I was the common denominator of it messing up, or it coming to an end, or me not doing the right things, or sharing myself emotionally.
Was that in hindsight you felt that, or in that moment were you feeling that you were the one that was just
I thought like, I suppose everyone thought like that at some stage. It was just like it was following me around. Destruction and emotions and
how were you
broken
feeling at that
relationships.
point? Because it sounds like you just kind of walking around with your head down, almost like I'm just messing up.
Yeah, I think it was just, I felt like when I was in God's presence and I was serving God and that kind of stuff, I felt there was so much potential. It was limitless. That's what it felt like, that God could use me to do stuff. But I think because of my choices, I felt like it was just holding me back from fully kind of experiencing God and allowing God to do what He wanted to do through my life. So it wasn't deep like that at the time, but that's what it felt like. My pull and my love for God was so strong that I loved Him more than I loved this feeling of intimacy and sex and whatever it was, the belonging and living in a relationship but not in a relationship. Having the benefits of a relationship but not committing fully to it.
Right.
And I loved God more than that. And I got to the point where I said, right, God, this is it now. I'm done. I'm committed to you, kind of thing. Okay. So that's where it all changed for me, yeah.
So then what happened?
It's funnily enough that the Ashburnham or the church weekend away, weekend away, I don't know, it's probably, again, my memory is terrible, but I'm sure it was the same one where we met. That morning, like some of the guys in church that I was sharing with, that knew my journey, that was journeying with me on this stuff, we done I think there's a video evidence of it as well, where he was videoed me and said, like, what do you want to achieve from this weekend away? Yeah. And I was just like, I just want to hear from God. I want to get direction from God. I want to just commit myself to what God called me to. And then that next sermon, the preacher that time, I should know his name because it's so significant, but I can't remember at the time now, but I'll get it. For the next video, I'll get it. Yeah. And he pointed me out in the crowd, and God said to him, through him, that God told me that He's got it under control, or it's in His hands. And I broke down, sobbing, crying, kind of thing, because it was a proper word in season, kind of thing. I think that's significantly changed my direction. Yeah. And then obviously, at that stage is when our communication and our paths kind of crossed together. And then I suppose that's where a good time to call it there. Okay. Where we kind of can do a joint one together next time of how our paths crossed and came together and how that unfolded for us.
All right. Good place to start.
That's like therapy, man. I tell you something, it's deep.
Oh, thank you though for sharing, opening up about that, because it's not always easy, is it? And I think the great thing is that a lot of guys don't always get to share or even hear what you've just talked about. So I think it's essential. And for us, the whole idea of share it, this is what it's about, is being able to share some of the stuff that doesn't always get shared. And also, highlight, this is what we do when we do the Rooted courses, is that we're very open, because we understand more than anything that our lives are not our own, in the sense that we have been through certain situations and encounters. Some people will feel uncomfortable about hearing us sitting beside each other talking about past sexual experiences and things like that. But we understand more so than ever now that God has allowed us to encounter what we have, to be able to share them with other people and free other people from some of the things that they carry, like a deep, dark secret that eats you up. And I think what you've just shared is a great example of having that feeling of feeling like, whatever it is, whether worthless or not worthy or not good enough to go before God or not good enough to have a wife or a husband. But actually, God says, you are my child, and He allows... nothing's by accident. He allows all of this stuff to take place so that we have a story to share that will encourage other people and free other people from the bounds of feeling unworthy. And
I think for me now, I suppose how it's always been since we've been together, and more so is a lot of my time is now spent sharing this stuff on a one-to-one with guys that are struggling with sex, pornography, relationships, past growing up stuff. I can share from my mistakes, so that the guys that are around me don't have to go through that, and just know that there's hope. And for the women, ladies as well, for the women that are struggling with guys and can't see any eligible guys around. Trust me, I was ineligible. I was that guy that was just that you wouldn't even look at twice because of what you knew about him, kind of thing. So there's hope. There's hope. Again, if you've still got life, God's not finished with you yet.
Amen.
You know, that's for the guys and for the girls. So be encouraged. There's hope out there, man. So and if my life is a small, insignificant example of that, please take hope from that.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so again, subscribe so that we can keep sending you these videos. Let us know what you think. Do you want more of them? Are there any particular issues that you want or questions that you want to ask us? Because, you know, there's quite a bit that we've encountered and experienced, and we will continue to share them with you. But if there is any point that you want us to elaborate on, then let us know. Let us know, because it's important that we meet the needs that's out there. And if we're the ones that do it, then so be it. You know? Okay. So until next time,
See you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.